Good afternoon. It is November 6th. It took me way too long to look down at my little clock widget here. And I also just realized that I didn't do this properly. See, this is what happens when you panic and do a show earlier than usual. So let me just sort this out for one moment. And we have this one. Here we go. Okay. Got it. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Scouching Live. It is Thursday. Thank you very much for the last minute the last minute shift and still showing up an hour early. Thank you very much. This is really wonderful. I'm out tonight. I have to go to the city. I have to go into Toronto. I'm going to a concert tonight, so the timing didn't really work out doing the show at 2 p.m. today, so we're moving it up. Also, while we're here, Monday night we're not doing a show. We'll be moving it to probably Tuesday, I would think. Tuesday at the same time. I am also going back into the city for another concert. Tickets we bought months and months ago, but I completely forgot until recently. So yeah, I'm going to Sabrina Carpenter Monday night. So that's going to be a lot of fun in Toronto. So that's gonna be a good time. I'm a fan of that particular artist, so it's gonna be a good one. But thank you for joining me. Obviously, we just did a show a few days ago, but we have been hard at work. Let me just pull up the list here of guys that we've taken a look at lately. We had a fun day yesterday doing office hours. It was a lot of fun. There was a few of us watching a few different games, which we'll talk about those guys in a second. But in the time since Monday, who are some of the guys we've looked at? Mikey Burchild, Rylan Singh in Guelph, Ryan Rubrek, Maddox Dagenet, Ossi Tukio in Finland. I took a look at a little guy in Russia, Ivan Makhmutov. I don't know why I did that, but got to cover your tracks, right? Jackson Cover I did a game of. I did another game of Nikita Klepov. Brooks Rogowski was a guy I did a game of. Oscar Holmertz, another one of him yesterday. I did one of Latvian Rudolph's Burskalns. Latvia might be having a pretty darn good year, honestly, with some of these guys that have coming out of Latvia. So there's that. And the last one I did yesterday was Adam Anderson. So, obviously, it's only been a couple of days, so not a whole lot of long list of names. And since AJ's not here, this is just entirely prospect-focused and my work-focused. So you get me for a couple of hours. Thank you very much again for everybody. We went on a little bit of a rant, and obviously the title of the show today is a little bit attention grabby more than usual. But we went on a little bit of a sidetracked rant, and we have a little bit in the last couple of shows about my sort of side hobby of financial planning and financial analysis and just sort of budgeting and how important that kind of field of the world is, and how uneducated a lot of people are, and how people are definitely being led down the wrong path by a whole bunch of different people who are looking to pump and dump or whatever you want to call it. And we've gotten like a couple of comments and a couple of people saying that like it's a genuinely interesting thing, and like maybe there should be a second channel where we do like that for a day, a week or two or something. So if that's something people are genuinely interested in, I mean, I'm interested in doing it as well, because this is a hobby of mine. I've been raised to sort of think this way. I genuinely do really believe that it's a really important thing to understand, and that, it's a thing that I think is a bit scary to a lot of people, but, or I guess, there's a lot of, greed, I guess, there that kind of traps a lot of people. And so for me, it's like maybe there is room for someone who, streams and sort of keeps things a little bit more reserved and safe, and, but still have some fun and, whatever. So if that's something you're interested in, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to give it a go, see how that goes. Obviously, I do want to do my job, like this, as long as this is something that I want to do as my job, I would want to do this as well. But if it's something people want to be interested in and watch or whatever, we'll try it. And look, we can bring the Patreon back if you just want to throw a couple bucks and help us out, and if you're really, really interested in that kind of thing and you find it helpful, then maybe we could set that up as well. But I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. That's just something that's been surprising to me, like just the sort of conversations that have popped up and people actually going like, oh yeah, this might actually be not something I expected when I woke up Monday morning. So I appreciate it. And so we'll see where we'll see. But it's interesting to me. And also, especially today, because the market is taking a gigantic dump, and it's about time, honestly. It's about time, as much as it hurts. Many parts of my body are aching from watching a lot of red stream across my screen. But, no pain, no gain, buy the dip, whatever. Maybe the world's going to crap at the end of the day, and maybe that's the perfect time to start up a new channel. But anyway, we'll get back into the show. We'll get back into hockey. You're here to talk hockey, so we'll go there. So thank you very much again for all of your input on that, and thanks for joining me at this weird time of day. Again, if you're a watcher of the show and you're just tuning in for one of the first times this season, we're not really doing a Q&A in the second half of the show, so it just keep the stream of consciousness going in the chat. We'll try to keep up as best as but I'll try to keep up as best as I can, and we'll power through it. We'll power through it together. A good friend of the show, Austin Brass, right off the top, came in here like a half hour ago and threw some questions at me, and we always love to see Austin in here. Austin's one of the originals, and we love him very dearly, so no one is allowed to be mean to him except for me. And on that, he had a few questions. So what do we got here? Yeah, he's bored in a meeting. Hopefully the meeting's done by now. If it's not, I'm really sorry. First month awards for North American prospects. Okay, great. This is fun. I like this. Favorite prospect who no one is talking about? For North Americans, it's a good question. I think Jack Hextall is primed to have a huge second half of the year, if this sort of trend holds. And I just think he's just like, we're watching Ben Kindle in the NHL lead with smarts and hard work and just being a step ahead of everybody else. And I feel like Jack Hextall is very much cut from the same cloth. And if his skating can come a step, I feel like there's only upside from here. Adam Valentini is another one I feel like people have kind of completely forgot about. Like, I know CSS had him as a W, but like, I think he's an interesting player. And for a freshman in college, I think he's looking pretty good. So those are probably a good starting point. Landon Nitsch, there's the other defenseman in the NCAA. I watched him last night. Lincoln Kuhn, in Arizona State. He's only playing like 5-6 minutes a game, so he's not playing much, and so I wanted to see what was going on there, and I like what he brought to the table. Like, I think I don't know if he's like NCAA ready right now, but you give him some time. I still see some interesting stuff going on there, and I could see why Arizona State would want him right away and sort of keep him as a long-term bet, so to speak. So we'll see, but those are some guys that I think. But if I had to pick one, I honestly, also this one might also be a little bit out of left field, but Casey Mutryn I think would be the one that definitely wins. Like, people are talking about Jack Hextall, people are talking about Adam Valentini, people are talking about these guys, but like, I don't hear much about Casey Mutryn, and every time I watch him, I go, I can't believe this guy's not scoring more. Like, he brings so many traits that I love in a player, especially a bigger one, that I think translate to the NHL really, really well. Like, he's a really good puck protector. He's got some skill, really good skater. He's big, but he's willing to use it, and he's physical, but he doesn't chase it. Like, he just brings such a well-rounded and balanced style of play that, again, I feel like as the year goes on, he could really improve from here. Like, there's a couple of guys on the NTDP who I really do think, why is my weird? Oh, I have a zit. Anyway, but yeah, Mutryn's definitely one that I would throw out there because I've really, really, really liked him, and I think there's a lot of growth potential in his game. Guy you can't understand why people are fawning over. I mean, Daxon Rudolph, I think. Like, I don't know. I see top 10 for him, and I just don't know about that. I've seen a bunch of them, and it's one of those ones where it's like, I want to watch as much of him as I can to make sure that I feel the way that I feel, and I still have not really changed my mind. I just don't really see what other people are seeing there. I don't know why, but I don't really understand it, and so I don't like touching things I don't understand. You know, like if I ever do this finance channel thing, you're gonna learn pretty quick. I don't like to talk or think about stuff that I don't really understand. If anything, that channel would also largely be based around like research and learning on my own behalf about stuff that I don't really understand, because there's definitely a lot in the world I don't understand. And Daxon Rudolph is definitely one of them. Biggest riser, I mean, relative to my expectations coming into the season, pound for pound, I mean, Tynan Lawrence is a good example where I thought he was a good player last year. I had him, you know, as a first-round pick for sure. I just didn't really see like a potential number 1 overall pick, which I, after the Hlinka, thought was entirely possible. It's unfortunate he's only played 2 games so far this year, but like to me, that's only a buy low opportunity if people are down on him because he's injured or something. But I mean, out of like guys out of nowhere, I've got to say Håkansson. William Håkansson has been like, I watched him a bit last year and liked him. I thought there was some interesting fundamentals there. Like, he's big and pretty confident, and it just was like the skating ability, the explosiveness, the skill level just kind of was trailing where he kind of wanted to be at the junior level last year. But watching him this year, like, he seems to be settling into the SHL so well. And I mean, on both sides of the puck, he's been really impressive. His footwork is really nice. He's shifting his body weight really well. He gets around the ice well for a big guy. You know, he's physical. Like, he brings a lot of the traits to the game that I think the NHL really wants. And it's nice to see other people having him in the first round now. And I could very easily see him being quietly one of these guys that, like, I was watching him next to, who was it this week? There was another defenseman I was watching, and they're also ranked pretty high in the first round, and I'm sort of thinking, like, is this guy really that far off? And I couldn't really. It might have been Chase Reed, and I like Chase Reed a lot. Like, he's top 10. He's moved up my board. Actually, I should mention that too. I've scrambled the list for the first time this year. So if you don't know, I built a Python program where it basically takes the names on my list and basically asks me, do you prefer player A or B? And it gives me 2 of them. And I do that in batches of 10 players at a time. And then it scrambles the rankings, scores the players, and then reorders it based on my preferences there. And I think that's fun to do, like, once every couple of months. And I did one for the first time this week, 3 nights ago. And it was awesome. Like, it came out really interesting. Like, not a whole lot really shifted around, but enough did. And then obviously from there, I shift things around a little bit more because, you know, guys might drop quite a bit and other guys might rise a lot, but not quite break through that cohort because they're only in batches of 10. And anyway, it makes more sense in my head because I do it all the time. So I won't get into the details really, but I've done that. And so it was really surprising to see some guys pop up really high, like Håkansson being the second guy in the second group of 10. I didn't really expect it, but I kept getting asked, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this guy better. I kind of like this guy better. I like this guy better than this guy, and here we are. So really interesting player that I did not expect. Although you did specify North American, so I apologize. Chase Reed probably wins that. I thought Chase Reed was okay last year, but he seems to be a lot more comfortable and a lot more fluid and a lot more intelligent on both sides of the puck this year that I've really liked seeing. Favorite overager, Mason Fleece. I mean, he's pretty good. Like, I've watched a bit of him, and I think there's something there. Pardon me, but this is not functioning properly, so I'm just gonna do this. Does that work? Okay, that works. There we go. All right, now we're cooking. For overagers, I mean, Landon Hafley is very close, and he's quite good. But let's see. Who are the overagers I've really liked? I mean, I've got Ivan Fomin ranked. I mean, the guy's on a rip. He's scoring a ton. I would love to see him at a higher level in Russia. He won't get drafted, but like he is quite a player. Leo Sundqvist, I've also gone back and watched, and I've really liked him this year. I went back and watched Rocky Longvart in Sweden. I think the one for North America, though, that I would say that has been really impressive to me is Egor Barabanov. Every time I've seen Saginaw this year, he's been really, really good, and that was unexpected. Like, he's an 06. He's a little older, but I really like what he does up the middle of the ice. Like, he's such a creative playmaker. And I mean, I watched Klepov. We watched him as a group in the Discord server, and just did not. I really feel like Klepov is really strongly benefiting from playing with a guy like Barabanov and Zhilkin. Like, I think those three guys really complement each other really well. It's almost like the Holinka line that Klepov was on, where you had Hextall up the middle as like that creative playmaker. Zelensky is that fast, skilled, high octane guy. And that's kind of Zhilkin, Dima Zhilkin, and then up the middle you've got Barabanov, who kind of anchors the whole thing, and Klepov can sort of finish off and be that sort of complementary offensive guy with the finishing ability. But I just don't know if that projects, but Barabanov I've really, really liked. And he's playing in Canada, so technically that's North America, and I don't care if you disagree. Otherwise, I mean, Mason Fleece is probably a decent option as well. Andrew O'Neill I've really liked with Edmonton as well. He's really, I think, looked very comfortable there very quickly. Like Reese Hamilton, even though he's in Regina, like he's looked pretty good too in the games I've seen. His numbers look pretty good as well. There's a guy, Gavin Cornforth as well with Boston College. Like, he didn't get drafted. And he's not playing much with BC, but I watched a bit of him the other night, and I think I'm going to leave him on the list for now. Like, he's looked pretty good there. No points, but like, I feel like, you give him some time and maybe there's something there, but he's on the watch list for me. But I also haven't done a huge tour of a lot of the re-entry guys yet, so we'll do that. But the one definitely in North America that really has impressed me is Barabanov. What do you think of Bodie Leyland and Blake Zielinski? Well, Leyland I've got a game of to track, and I've really liked what I've seen of him. I did not expect that, but he's a really impressive puck carrier. He's got some good skill, really deceptive on the puck. Like, I really like how he plays with the puck, and so I wanted to track a game before sort of solidifying that. I threw him on the list just because I think that I would, based on what he does, I and the production level, like, I really like a lot of the things and he checks a lot of the boxes that I'm looking for. And we'll see after tracking the game. So I'll know a lot more on Monday. I do want to get to him in the next, it won't be today, but tomorrow I'll say I would do him tomorrow. I would get on a game of his tomorrow. So ask me Monday. Zelensky, though, I really like the skill level. I was a little bit disappointed by his USHL game I tracked. But I don't know. I feel like there's a good player there. He's driving really good results. His numbers are looking really good. But it was kind of, he just wasn't really impacting the game on a consistent basis at 5-on-5 in a way where I kind of believed it, but I've seen it happen. Like at the Holinka, the skill level, the finishing ability, like he's a high-paced player, so I'll check him out again. It's been a little while since I've seen him, but I do really like him. Like, he's penciled into my end of the second, early third, something like that right now. Which is more likely to happen, Lawrence going 1 or not going in the top 3? Well, I mean, because he's played 2 games, and I don't think he's played in 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know if he's injured or not. I don't remember. Maybe someone in the chat who's more tied in to the USHL than I am can tell me. But I mean, if the injury thing keeps happening or something, or he's out or whatever, then I feel like a team won't draft him in a really high range of the draft. But assuming he's healthy and plays for the rest of the season, and plays like I know he can, I feel like it's more likely that he goes number 1. Like, a lot of insider lists now are putting him at like 2 or 3. And honestly, like, that's where I've had him all year. He's at 1 now for me. But like, I could very easily see him staying, in the top 3 at least. I think the thing, I was talking about this with someone yesterday while we were watching other guys and about McKenna, and like, they were saying like, it's possible, and I think I agree to a certain point. Like, it's possible that like once NHL GMs who are like, oh, my team is not good, we might draft a McKenna, they're gonna go watch him play like a bunch of times. And that's going to be very interesting because the GMs who want to make that decision will have to assess him based on where he is right now. And I mean, look, I pulled even strength numbers. He's under 1 primary point per 60 in the NCAA, which is really low. Like, I mean, like, it seems like there's a lot of issues in his game that people thought were there with James Hagens. So we'll see where it goes. Obviously, it's still early in the year, but like, I was shocked to find out how much McKenna and his production is coming on the power play, which if you have a guy like Gavin McKenna, if he wasn't scoring on the power play, it would be a catastrophe, like just by virtue of how he plays. But 5-on-5 exploits some of the holes in his game, and I imagine the more exposure he gets and the longer this kind of thing goes on, and the more once NHL GMs whose jobs are riding on the line see a little bit of this and see more of the evidence, maybe then you'll start to see more of the discussion shift towards maybe other guys might be there. Like, if I'm putting on my NHL GM hat, obviously it's really hard to convince me that Gavin McKenna is not the number one guy this year, like just from the pure skill standpoint. If you ask me personally, like, I think it's entirely possible that he is not number one at the end of the year for me. But at the same time, and when I look at a Tynan Lawrence, I go, this is a guy who can take over a hockey game. Like, I don't think Gavin McKenna is like that as a player. I think he can be extremely productive, but I feel like someone in the Discord server was saying they watched one of Tynan Lawrence's games in the USHL, and they were like, during the game he was good. Like, he played really well. He didn't really do anything wrong. He wasn't really dominant or anything. And then in the third period, pretty much the entire time, he was all over the place, doing everything humanly possible to win a hockey game, and at both ends of the ice, both sides of the puck, just all over the place, and in a good way. And that's kind of how and to me, like, that's kind of what NHL GMs are looking for in a young player. Like, that's kind of right up their alley. So for me, that's where I come down. I mean, I think as long as he's healthy, it's probably more likely that he challenges for number one than falls out of the top 3. But if he kind of is in and out of the lineup right now and stuff, then time will tell. But yeah. I've heard the goalie class in this draft is a bit weak. Which goalies are worth watching as potential seconds and thirds? I mean, goalies are strange. I have kind of given up on goaltenders in terms of like, oh yeah, this guy's an elite goaltending prospect. Like, I don't really care about that anymore. I think what I would do though is look at I think there are good goalies though available this year. North Americans, especially Canadians, I don't see any Canadians except maybe Xavier Wendt in Tri-City, who, and is he even Canadian? I don't even know. But he might be one that's worth a good look because he's getting plenty of practice playing for Tri-City this year. Okay, so he is American. So he's not Canadian. So there's 3 American goalies who I've liked this year. Brady Noling, even though his numbers are not very good. Harrison Bottiger, he's in Kelowna, but also an American. He's been solid, but not incredible. And Xavier Wendt, who's been very good this year. But there are a lot of guys in Russia who I've really liked. Yegor Rybkin is like 6'70" and really athletic. And that's a guy who I have penciled in as like a potential target second, third round. I've really liked Dmitry Borachev, who I believe plays he's played for multiple teams this year, but he is in Lokomotiv. Is that what it is? He's in Yaroslavl? Yeah, he's on local Yaroslavl. Well, he's playing on their second division team, and he's been extremely good there as well. That's a guy I've really liked. Vladislav Yermolenko is a Belarusian playing for the Niagara Ice Dogs. That guy I've liked as well. Marek Sklenichka playing for Seattle. He's very young, very big, and facing an absolutely horrendously insane workload. Dmitry Yevchenko with Omsk is a guy I've liked as well. Matvey Karbinov, who is in St. Petersburg, I believe. He's been pretty good. Sergei Gorbunov in Yekaterinburg has been interesting. Tobias Treble. He's a Czech goalie, I believe, playing for Youngstown, and he's been good as well. So I think there's some good options this year, but none where I can like easily point to them and go, oh yeah, like you have to have this guy. You have to because I don't think you can really do that with many goaltenders, especially not interviewing them and not getting to know them and their habits and their tendencies and all that. But I think there are some fundamentally good goaltenders. Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini tied for the league lead in points. Isn't it crazy how they grew up? It's true, man. It's crazy. It's crazy how much. I mean, Celebrini's been amazing this year. He's been really amazing, and Connor McDavid is Connor McDavid. I mean, I love watching the eras shift as a person getting older. Watching these kids come up and get better and better and better and sort of be the guys on the Wheaties box. Like, I think it's really good for the sport, obviously, and these kids have really are really good. And yeah, I mean, it's really, really nice to see. Mr. Scouch, hello. Oh, David, hello. Curious on your thoughts regarding 2026 NHL draft prospect Alexander Sapozhnikov. Well, I'll answer that question when you answer my DM about Tobias Trable, because I believe it was you who asked me about him. Alexander Sapozhnikov is a real person. He is real. And one of the hockey players of all time. But because I have problems and mental illness, I will put him on the watch list just for you and make sure that I take a quick look at some point, because he's playing in the KHL as a 19-year-old and he's very tall, so he must be good. And we'll check him out. Any big risers and fallers for you so far? I mean, I have Rubrek lower than most people. Yeah, Rubrek is the big one I have lower than most people. I mean, I have Rudolph off. I don't have him on my list right now. There's a lot of guys I did not expect to like as much as I did this year, though. Chase Reed, even Ethan Belchetz has been way better than I thought he would be. Albert Smits, Casey Mutryn, William Hokanson, Verti Svensk, Oliver Suvanto. Like, all those guys were not... I mean, Smits was on my radar coming out of last year, but not like this. Like, he's been... His numbers are outstanding on that team in Liga. Like, I pulled the data last night and put it together, like, from game sheets and everything. His even strength stuff is incredible from playing in Liga this year. Like, it's just incredible what he's doing so far. And it's been through 20 games almost. Like, he's putting up good numbers for a forward as a defenseman, and that's kind of how he plays, but, like, you don't see that every day. And I did not have that on my bingo card coming into the season. Yustavar Carlson, like, I liked him last season, but I did not expect him to be an SHLer and a pretty decent one at this age. Suvanto came out of nowhere for me. Like, a lot of guys kind of came out of nowhere and have really been impressive. There are guys that I've had in the first round since last year, like Horenko and Nemec and Ryan Lynn and all those guys. Like, those guys have been good, but not necessarily. Like, I think other guys have kind of passed them for me right now on the list. Watched Brooke Rogowski last night, and it's 28 minutes I'll never get back to. Yeah, I mean, the game we did yesterday was tough. That was a tough one. I don't see it with him, honestly. I've been watching him for 2 years now. I've seen him at USA hockey tournaments and other stuff like that, and I mean, him, for me, it's like he's a big kid and has some good skill, but that's kind of where it ends with me for him. Like, I remember my notes from him at the summer camp I watched him at last year and this year. And it's like I didn't really notice him a whole lot except for how big he was. And then he would dangle the pants off of some defender and go roof and score a goal or something and then just disappear for the rest of the game, right? Like, as a guy in a sheltered role, maybe I could... Okay. Sorry. I don't know what happened there. My internet farted out. But we're good. Where was I? So Kindle ahead of Potter. Yeah. Do you feel like you should have gone a little more in with Ben Kindle? I mean, I kind of was. Like, I had Ben Kindle in my top 12 for, like, most of last year. And, I mean, I kind of watched a lot of him down the stretch, and I went, yeah, like... The skating needs to improve, and he is pretty small and not very physical. Like, he plays kind of small and compact and everything, but I love everything else about him. Like, I still think I had him higher than everybody else, maybe last year. definitely pretty close because he was like top 15, I think 17th or something for me. I loved him. But yeah, I mean, I think we need to also stay calm a little bit here. But I think watching Arizona State a couple times this year, he's still Cullen Potter. He's still rocking. You know, he's gonna be just. I think he's gonna be just fine. That team has struggled this year, right? You know, that team has struggled a little bit, and so hopefully those fortunes change for Arizona State University. I apologize if my connection's a little bit spotty here. I don't know why that is, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think with Ben Kindle, I feel like I had him in around the right spot. I mean, look, I was probably his biggest fan. Like, I called it at the draft that like Pittsburgh might draft him, and they did. And you know, like he just checked a whole lot of boxes for me, and the fact that Pittsburgh has a lot of job openings gave him a job, and he's held it, right? Like, it's pretty incredible. So I don't really regret where I had him. I regret kind of doubting him a little bit at the end of the year, and I kind of thought, okay, like, I like him more than where I had him ranked, but there are question marks that, like, it would take a lot of cojones to draft him higher, and it seems like it's worked out so far for Pittsburgh. But we'll see. It's still very, very early. I mean, it's not even, you know, we just started seeing Christmas ads on television. So, like, that's how early into the season we are. The leaves are still falling off the trees. So let's, you know, stay a little patient here. But he's been great. I meant that more in reference to a guy like Potter. What are your thoughts on Jurovsky's start over in Russia? I mean, it's great. Like, I'm not going to poo-poo the kid. I love Jurovsky. I've said this a billion times, but like, I was on him last September and really liked him. He was in my top 40 for stretches of last year. But again, like, for me, it was the doubts with regards to the level at which he was playing. I think you have to be really careful with the KHL as well. Like, keep in mind the quality of that league has dropped pretty precipitously. Teams are, like, the poor teams have gotten poorer. The rich teams they've gotten richer and had more resources. The import level, I think, there has dropped by half, if not more, by now. So the quality of import level players and the volume of import level players has dropped significantly. And Russian defending is notoriously porous. So there's a lot of things that I think Jurovsky can take advantage of. But, I mean, look, he's a phenomenally talented player. Like, the skill level and creativity, like, if the NHL draft were a draft of just pure creativity and who makes the craziest plays off and on here and there, him and, like, Justin Carbonneau would probably be in the top 10 or top 15, right? I could see why Montreal would have had him where they had him. And, you know, where they drafted him, I wouldn't have really put up that much of a fight if they really believed in him like that. It was higher than I had him, but, like, I still felt like if you really believed in the upside and the potential in his game, he could have been a first round pick. But for me, it's like, fundamentally, you're looking at a guy who was playing in the worst division of Russian junior hockey, which has only gotten worse. And he was just running them over and doing so at a pace of play that I didn't quite buy. But the skill level and the creativeness in his game is off the charts good. So it's great. I'm really happy. If Montreal gets another really good Russian player, I'm not going to complain. Did you ever think you'd live long enough to see someone score 900 goals in the NHL? When I was a kid, no, because I grew up in the dead puck era, right? Like, I grew up in an era where, like, Jerome McGinley scoring 50 goals one time was like, holy balls, that's insane, right? Like, that's crazy. And things have shifted quite a bit since then. I think since the 2013 lockout and some of the rules that have changed, and one sec, excuse me, and the sort of analytics revolution, I guess you could say, has shifted things in the direction of offense. And, like, so it doesn't really surprise me that now you have a guy who's scoring a ton and got to 900 goals, which is a pretty incredible achievement. You know, I think that in a young player now, you know, starting out, we'll see what happens, right? Like because the problem is that goaltending has gotten weaker, but I don't think it's because the goalies are worse. I think it's just that more players on the team are offensively oriented and offensively skilled, and the skill fundamentals of the game have really superseded the sort of traditional, like, not everybody on the team needs to be a finisher type. There's a lot of teams that are, they have a lot of size and physicality, but like those guys also can play with some skill and some speed and all that stuff. Like, and the defensemen, there's a lot more engagement from defensemen on a lot of teams, and that's also boosted league-wide offense by a bigger margin than forwards by my math that I've done in the past. So we'll see what happens and we'll see what happens over the next 5 to 10 years. I don't really see the league regressing into more of a dead puck era style thing, because I don't think fans like it. Like, I don't think fans opine for the days where defensemen could just reach and hook you and like grab onto your jersey or whatever, and it just like wouldn't be called. Like, I don't think people liked that. I think people like the speed, skill, and the speed, skill, and physicality of the sport now. I think that's what sells hockey, and I don't think the NHL is going to stray away from that, considering how successful they've been over the last few years. Greetings, Willie Vanilli. Any chance you've caught any James Hagen's games or clips this season? Honestly, not really. I've seen a little bit of Boston College, but like only insofar as watching a guy like Gavin Conforth coming out of last year. I know they're not doing an incredibly good job this year. Like, I think Hagen's is a point a game, and everyone else is kind of quite a bit under that. It's still early, but we'll see. I haven't seen a ton of him. I would expect him to be at the World Juniors and be insanely good. And the Bruins at the end of the year, I think, makes sense. Like, I don't know about another year in college for him, especially because the Bruins do have some spots on the roster that I think they could happily give him a go in. Give him the sort of like Matty Beniers treatment where it's like, yeah, just work your way up the lineup. We'll play you. We'll sit with you. We'll work with you. And we'll see what happens. But I could easily see it by the end of the year. What do you think about stock pre-revenue like ASTS? Oh, I feel like I know that one. ASTS is, Space Mobile. I have looked at this business before. I was a Rocket Lab owner. I bought Rocket Lab like 3 years ago. Like, I obviously you can't invest in SpaceX, but I was looking for like alternatives because I thought that the private space industry was like becoming a more intriguing business and more viable business, especially in the modern era and everything and all that stuff. And I mean, so I bought Rocket Lab because it was publicly traded, and I genuinely believed in their business plan of like smaller payloads, smaller rockets, more frequent launches, partnering with governments and science research facilities and universities and all that stuff to basically make it cheaper and more accessible to just put something in orbit, right? Nothing too fancy, but just, you need a little box with a bunch of weather sensors up in orbit. We'll throw it up there for you, and we'll keep it cost, and do a whole bunch of them at once with a launch. And they've been like extremely successful with their launches. And so I bought some, and it's gotten completely out of hand. I mean, in the time since, so I sold over the last few months, I've sold everything I owned. And I think the thing that I kind of wish I caught on to earlier was like the satellite imagery business, which has been really going on a rip to the point where I don't know if I buy it. Like, I'm not big on speculation like that. Like, I'm a believer in like buying good businesses and successful businesses when they're at the right price point and like the right valuation points. And that strategy recently has not really worked, but time will tell. It's about the long game for me, because speculation and everything, like, you're basically gambling. And it's nice when you win, but like with Space Mobile, I looked at them, and I have a really hard time buying into a company that's pre-revenue. I would need to do a lot more research to like see what their business is all about. Like, I know they're a satellite company and all that, but like it seems like everybody is kind of dumping their money into that kind of technology and like that side of the economy. And like I get that, but I just don't know enough, and I don't and it's like you don't want to buy at the top, right? And I mean, it's been on the decline. It hit $95. It's down to 66, right? So it seems like it's going to be very interesting to see where these things drop to, because I think we are in a period of people taking profits. The speculation and the fervor, I think, has died down a little bit about a lot of this stuff, and so I think people are going, okay, I've made my 200% on this. I'm going to pull my money out, and we'll see who survives at the end of it, right? Like, Rocket Lab's down 8.5% today, right? So yeah, like these I see where their business comes from and could come from, but like, you're buying a company that had $1 million in revenue and they're worth $22 billion. Like, I just don't, at this point, like at that valuation, I don't think I would do it, because then you're hoping for. And I had a discussion about Tesla like this with a guy I used to work with years ago. He was a Tesla share owner, and he's like, "Oh, it's a great business. It's this and this and this. They're going to revolutionize the world." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I don't disagree really." And this was like 2022, maybe earlier, 2020. And I was like, "Yes, but at the same time, if I buy now, I'm buying into the growth, into that valuation making more sense, right? It's not going to be a 300 to 1 price to earnings forever. It has to either catch up or the share price has to come down. And I don't trust either of those opportunities being a good investment. So it's like I would be buying at the top or buying, and I'm sure in retrospect you may as well have just bought Tesla more, because it was and still is kind of a cult. But like, it's just that kind of thing spooks me. So those kinds of businesses, like I try to, it's not like I go, I'm shorting them. I don't want anything I think they're all going to go to zero. Like, it's not like that, but I'd rather, like, my strategy and my wheelhouse is more about like fundamental analysis, finding out good businesses that are available, like at a price point that makes sense. Willie Vanilli, any chance you've caught we did that. Toronto and Boston go on win streaks and suddenly back in the playoff race. Meanwhile, Florida is last in the East. Yes, hockey is indeed weird. Have you seen two guys from my hometown, Chad Legitsakos and Enzo Lawton? I have watched Legitsakos and I like him. I think he's an interesting player. He's small, but I think there's something there. I don't think he's as small as he's listed. Like, I think he's listed 5'8" or something like that. I feel like he's a little bigger than that, but it doesn't really matter. I really love how he plays. The other guy, Enzo Lawton, I have not seen. Also, I'll put him on the list here. But Legitsakos, it's about time I take another look at him, because I really did like the first game I saw of him. Okay, so he's on Victoriaville. Nice. And you're from Trois-Rivières. Nice. Go Lions. Is that the team that's ECHL there? But yeah, Legitsakos I do like. I'm excited to watch him again, because he was unranked by CSS, and I think he should at least be on their list at in some point. Is Chase Reed the top American in the class? I mean, Tynan Lawrence is Canadian, Mathis Preston Canadian, Keaton Verhoff Canadian, Stenberg Swedish, McKenna Canadian, Villeneuve Canadian. Yes. Chase Reed, I think, is the best American available. Hextall, Mutryn, I really like those players, but I don't think I'd put them on the same level. Honestly. Thoughts on Oleg Kulibiakin? I randomly saw him once, thought he had some decent skill, but the other team was awful on defense. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching him since he was in the U.S. I am thinking of the right Russian. There's a bunch of Russians that have come to the U.S. and played 16U hockey and everything. I've seen once in a while. I like Kulibiakin. I think you're touching on, like, he's a guy that plays like he kind of probably needs to be in a big time scoring role. Like, I don't think he's a defensively pacey, intense player on both sides of the puck where you could play him as a top 9, bottom 6 guy. But like, and I don't know if there's enough there for him to be a top 6 or top 9 offensive NHL player. I haven't taken a detailed look at him. He is on the list at some point for me to get to, but he just hasn't really been a priority. I can only do so many guys at a time with regards to tracking games and everything. But what I have seen of him, I can see where his offense comes from. But again, it's like, are there other offensive guys I'd rather bet on right now than him? And I feel like that list is long enough where he's just not as huge a priority. But like, I like the player. I think he's an interesting one. Using Keaton Verhoff as an example for my question, if he turns pro next year and the team that drafts him wants to send him to the AHL, would Victoria be able to claim that they have his D+1 rights? He can't go back to the... I don't know why he would go back to Victoria. I think that the next year is when that rule is implemented where a team can put one guy in the AHL under the age of 20. I don't think Victoria would be able to do anything about that. Because it would be part of the agreement that they signed. So I don't think there would be anything they could do about it. And even in that case, like, I feel like the NHL team would get ahead of it and go, well, it's either NHL or NCAA, if not the AHL for him. I would probably leave him in college based on what I've seen of him this year so far. Like, he is an 08 playing college hockey, and that's not easy, being a 17-year-old playing college hockey, and it's a pretty remarkable achievement. So next year he would be a freshman anyway, and I don't think there's any reason to rush a guy like him to the NHL. I would want him to be a really, really good NCAA defenseman, which I think is possible, if not by the end of this year, by the end of next season. So if it's me, like, it doesn't really matter. But if he does have a really, really good season and everything, and like, you really believe in him, I would think that he would be the guy that just goes to the AHL, and I don't think Victoria would be able to do anything about it. Do you think Eddie Yenborg would be higher in your ranking, or is he just at the right place at the right time? I actually went and watched Yenborg style of play that really works. So, for example, there is like, how do I put it? Did my stream die again? What is happening here? Oh no, we're good. Like, for example, with Yenborg, he plays a simple and effective game. In terms of like physicality, going to the net, keeping things simple, and just executing a simple game plan and doing it well. And I've always felt like he had a pretty decent NHL floor. And so, but putting him on a line, he's playing with Jonathan Dahlin a lot. And I don't know if anyone else remembers Jonathan Dahlin, but in the SHL, Jonathan Dahlin is a cheat code. Like, watching Yenborg play and watching where his points are coming from, it's a lot of working off of a Jonathan Dahlin type player and finishing and doing a lot of the dirty work and all of that. And he's getting rewarded for it, right? So he's kind of doing what I expected. I don't think I would have put him any higher than I had him, like as a top 40 guy. I feel like there's a good floor there of a bottom 6 NHL physical dude, or maybe he is on a top 6 job and, complimenting guys like a Dylan Larkin, or whoever else is on that group, right? And doing the dirty work for those types of players. Maybe there's a role there as well. But I think we have to wait and see with him. Because I think a lot of the actual production stems from who he's playing with, more so than like him driving the bus really, really well in the SHL. 10x to the moon should be the name of your channel. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're going to try to steer clear of the cringe, I think, as much as we possibly can, because there's a lot of finance slop out there, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to dig up a bunch of potential 10x's, because that's just, a lot of it comes down to like luck, I think, and gambling. But who knows? Who knows what you can dig up? They do exist. There are companies out there that in 10 years will be worth a lot more than they're worth today. But you got to do your due diligence. I guess there's a rumor that the USHL could join the CHL. I'd love to see this happen, but I'm curious how it would work with some teams' financials. How would you reshape junior hockey? Well, I would probably, oh my God, it's tough. The problem is Canada is so huge. Like, North America is gargantuan. So it's not like you can just have one league for all of North America and have it be very financially viable. But like, if you ask me, I think there are too many CHL teams, as much as it sucks to say, like, some communities that love their teams. Like, I just think that there's too much talent dilution in the CHL. The numbers just don't really make a whole lot of sense. And I think if you had 3 12-team leagues in Canada, you would have a very intriguing overall system. It's really tough because there is a community aspect to junior hockey that by virtue of the fact that it's local and community oriented, the finances are just not really there. And so, but if you wanted a better funded, better system, it would almost be like you'd have to have turn the GTHL into the OHL, like the Toronto Hockey League, and have like 6 teams play in Toronto, or up the GT from Hamilton to Ottawa, right? Like, you'd keep your travel costs low-ish, but it would be very expensive to operate because running an arena in those areas is probably it's really complicated. The big problem for me is that I think there are just too many CHL opportunities for junior players. When you look at other countries, there are much smaller leagues, there's much fewer players in those leagues, and they have a lot more flexibility. Like, the European system of under 18 teams, under 20 teams, pro teams, loaning to other divisions, like, I think that's way better for player development than, hey, welcome to the Victoria Royals, you're going to be here for 4 years. Like, I just think that now that you have the NCAA, that changes things. But it's really tough. I don't think there's a right answer based on how things are right now. But if I had to wave a magic wand and I had no soul and didn't care about the feelings of people who live in places like North Bay and Peterborough and whatever, not that I do care about those people and I think they deserve to have teams. If I waved a magic wand, like, I would concentrate the leagues and make them smaller and more localized and maybe have 2 divisions, like a promotion relegation thing, right? Like second tier junior, first tier junior, and you make a little bit more of an interesting competition out of it, more Europeanized, and go from there. But I don't know. It's a really tough answer. It's I don't know. The USHL joining would be interesting, but a lot of those teams don't really play in barns that can rival a whole lot of CHL programs. But there is a lot more money in the U.S. than in Canada, you know? So who knows? I don't know. It's a very interesting situation that hockey is in North America, and I don't know what it's going to look like in a few years, but it is an interesting thought experiment. Thoughts on Cooper Williams? I can see him flaming out as a decent AHLer, but he seems like a fun bottom 6 pest. Yeah, I think he's a really smart player. I think I agree. I don't think I would like jump to draft him. He is on my list as like a 3rd round, sort of late, maybe like mid-round guy. Again, like smart. But yeah, like I tracked him and he didn't really move the needle a whole lot for me. I didn't really buy NHL level upside there. But yeah, I mean, look, anyone can change their mentality and be a pest and a jerk, and you know, if it works, it works, right? So we'll see. It's all a matter of like where he goes in the draft. I feel like he's one of these guys that's really teetering on the edge of like, when is he going to be the guy I really want? And I don't know the answer to that with him right now, but I left him there because I did like some of the bits of what he does. Have you been seeing what the top of the 2027 crop is doing? Privalov, Joseph, and DuPont is going to be insane. Yeah, I mean, those guys, the 2027 group is looking pretty good. I really like Privalov from what I've seen. I mean, Russia next year might have 4 first-round draft picks. Like Privalov, Skvortsov, Kozhevnikov even. They have a few guys where I've watched them and gone, holy crap, these guys are good. Mozhukin, defenseman for Omsk, has also been really good this year. There's another defenseman who I've really liked. I think he's on the Red Army team. Can't remember his name, though. I'd have to get my notes from PEI. But yeah, there's a lot of really good players coming out for next year as well. Do you think Sorensen could get more draft buzz if he plays at the U18s? Gonna try to watch some of his international clips. Yeah, so he is at the 5 Nations tournament that's going on right now. That's going to be huge for him. I think that's going to be huge for him and for me to get a good read on him and get a better barometer or better understanding of what he's doing. Because I just really don't know. Like, watching Division 2 in Sweden is fun because he's really, really good at that level. But I don't I don't really. I don't really. I can't be too confident there. I'm just ranking him really because I love watching him, and I think that, you know, if it works, if he is what I think he is, he could be really good. But it's just it's like Jurovsky. It's like fundamentally, I just don't know. Because no matter what, unless he plays internationally, he's not playing at a level I'm super comfortable evaluating, and I think that would be a relatively common thought from a lot of people. Do you think Simon Katoliczki can join Rogowski and the big guy rise like Nesbitt last year? Well, I'll tell you, I like Katoliczki a lot more than Rogowski. Like, I think Katoliczki, I'm excited to watch him again. I haven't seen him in a little while, but again, he's not scoring a ton, but I feel like he's only going to get better and better and better as time goes on. Like, he's huge, he's physical, but he's also really skilled for a big guy. He's got really good edges and protects the puck really well. You know, he's got that ability to sort of cut through a couple of defenders, get through a couple layers of defense. And for a big guy like that at that age, he's pretty young. It's not easy. I would love to see him crack the Liga team maybe a couple times this year and see what that looks like. If he hasn't already. I don't think he has. But I've always been very, very intrigued by him. Very intrigued. And the upside potential there, I think, is really big. So I don't know about like a Nesbitt level, you know, rocket up the charts, because Finnish junior hockey is not the most in vogue place to find players, but I think he is pretty good, and I think he could be a good one. Could you see Smits as a top 5 pick? I would not be against it. I love him right now based on what I've seen. Like, he might be one of the most exciting defensemen available. Purely exciting, I would say. Purely exciting. But a really, really interesting player. You know, I like he leads with an offensive style of play that is very you need to build around him and make it work around him for it to make sense. You know, I don't think you're gonna cage the wild animal, so to speak, but I like him. I think he's fun. I think he's a great thing for the sport. I think some NHL teams will say that he could be a top 5 guy. I think some teams might go, this won't work in the NHL, so let's not draft. Maybe late first, something like that, and see what happens with him. But I would believe in him. I think there's something there. Who are you higher on, Frondell or Slavkovsky? They were very close on my list. It's weird. I feel like Frondell, I think I liked, I'm trying to remember now, like vibes wise, probably would go for Frondell, but it would be pretty close. Like, Slavkovsky is different. They're two different players. Like, Slavkovsky is more of a pass first, you know, board work style guy, and Frondell is more of like a physical, you know, power, skill, but like finisher oriented type guy. Slavkovsky isn't really much of a finisher, so to speak. I think he's a really good sort of all around complementary forward with the guys that he plays with, but I think Frondell has like a more of a limited role as a complementary guy, but he's really, really good at what he does really, really well. So like I probably would have, like, I think I had Slavkovsky at 4 that year in 2022, and I might have had Frondell at 3, you know, maybe something like that. Well, that year was, I think I would have had Frondell at 4 instead of Slavkovsky, but I think they'd be very, very close. Like, I would rather have Cooley. I mean, I should have had Shane Wright at 2 that year in retrospect. Instead, I liked Cooley the most out of all of those guys. I'm trying to remember and then I had Brad Lambert in there. I would have Frondell ahead of Lambert as well. So I probably would have had Frondell at 3 that year in 2022, ahead of Lambert and Slavkovsky. But they're close. There's a Latvian goaltender too. Yes, there is a Latvian goaltender. There are probably many Latvian goaltenders. But yes, there indeed is a Latvian this year. I can't remember his name though. Yeah. But he does exist. Whilst Will hydrates, can we all click the like button? Yes, you may. I'm still. It's 2 p.m, and I'm still drinking coffee out of my lovely handmade mug from Nova Scotia, Canada, New Scotland, as they say. So I'm not hydrating. Caffeine is dehydrating, but I also do have a glass of water here too. So we'll suck some of this back and then move on. Saying changing of the airs made me feel old. Yeah, it's true. Seems like everyone's down on Rubrek. Yeah, I mean, Rubrek just hasn't brought the amount of impact I think people thought. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of him last year. I mean, I do think that the second game I did was a lot better than the first. The video I've seen of him, like, he's a player that plays a style of play that I think will scare NHL teams, but I feel like you might still have like an Anthony Mathis style player there where like off the puck, you kind of are like, why is this guy an NHLer? Like, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then someone gets him the puck and he rifles one and he's a 20-20 guy, right? Like 20 goals, 20 assists, 25 goals, 20 assists type player. And he might play for 6 different teams, but still be productive and may not be the guy, but a guy. And Mantha, like, I like Mantha for what it's worth. But I remember Mantha when he was a draft eligible kind of having the same things said about him as Rubrek. So yeah, I did bump Rubrek up into my first round from where he was, but I still am a little skeptical, like in terms of the type of things I look for in a person, in a player. The types of things I look for in a person. Yes, we're doing a dating show. We're gonna do a finance channel and a dating show channel. That's what we're gonna do. Even though I am happily committed, it won't be me. It will be, it'll be a dating show for people to connect on the things that I like. How about that? That's a twist on a dating show nobody would watch. The host has certain types of things they prefer, so the dating show is a contestant in a potential match trying to match on those things. How about them apples? I think that's a recipe for success, if you ask me, because I don't know, I'm gonna shut up and move on here. But yeah, Rubrek just doesn't have a ton of the things of the types of things that I'm looking for in a high end player, but like there are some traits in his game that are very impressive, but it's just a matter of like what his role is going to be in the NHL. So I wonder if people are going to maybe overcorrect a little bit, but because I certainly did, but it's a weird one. It's still early in the year and it's a little strange, but yeah. Can't believe. Oh yeah, Scott Wheeler put out his first ranking. So that's interesting. He put Verdi Svensk on there. Good for you, Scott. If you're listening or watching. Yeah, can't believe he has Rubrek over Preston. Normally bets on skill over size. I mean, I think people see Preston as like at under a point a game and go, oh, he's been disappointing. And I think that people legitimately look at Preston and go, there are some hockey sense issues there, like shot volumes and shot selection are really questionable for him, and I would agree. But I think Preston's the perfect example of a player that I would love to draft and talk to. Like it's the same thing as like I'm thinking back like to Kent Johnson. Like I remember I saw something say like Kent Johnson, like I was really harsh on him in the report that I made. And that's not the way I wanted it to come across, right? Like the point for me was like it's supposed to be like you have the potential to do great things, but like there are some big things in the way that I think need to be honestly talked about so that we can get over that hump and you can fit a little bit better in the modern game and at the NHL level. And I think Mathis Preston is kind of like that, where it's like there are things about his game that I think are flaws, but I think if you're supportive and if you're talking to him and being like, well, there's some things here, like, because he has the capabilities to go beyond what he's capable of, I think. Like the fundamentals of his game are elite, I think. It's just a matter of like, for example, like he's a guy where if he's not moving his feet, he is way less effective in the game than when he's moving his feet, and it's noticeable. and that's a bit problematic. Again, like my thing with him always is I see a guy like William Nylander there, where when Nylander was 17, people said the exact same things about him. It's like they didn't like the fact that he was like, I just like to have the puck. You get me the puck and I'll make good things happen. And I think that's the case for a guy like Preston. But the development in Willie's game sort of over the years has come from off the puck and the work rate. And, he gained a lot of weight in muscle and he didn't slow down. Like, it's a matter of like being that really active and engaged player on both sides of the puck that drove really good results. And you take the licks that people give you, but at the end of the day, you end up a 90-point hockey player. And I think Mathis Preston is kind of like that. So, but I can see how people might look at his production so far this year. I think a lot of it comes down to the guys he's playing with. I look at guys, when I've seen him playing, I think he's just a couple steps ahead of the guys he plays with, and it's just not working with Spokane this year for him. I just think like he's trying to be the bus driver, and the kids aren't cooperating on the bus. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with him. I am still bullish. I'm still sitting on him really, really high. I moved him to 2 instead of Lawrence after the scramble. I cannot imagine having him lower than 5 or 4 at the end of the year. Just looking at the rest of the guys, maybe Chase Reed could pass him, but that would be tough for me to do at this point so far. Are there any Bill Zonon? Oh, sorry, Bill Zonon. He says, "Oh, I gotta get the French out." Bill Zonon comparables in this draft class. Well, there's nobody named Bill, I don't think, so that's unfortunate. The only Bill you get this year is me and the bills that come in the mail. That's the thing about this year is it's kind of weird that like last year had a lot of these big two-way centers that can chip in on both sides of the puck and play physical, and maybe they're NHL third liners, and that's kind of it, and that's where it ends. There was a lot of those last year, and there's not that many of those this year. Like, I'm looking at the centers available, and there's just not that many of them. But if I had to pick, like, the closest might be Oliver Suvanto, and Suvanto is almost 2 years younger than Zonon. So that's another thing. Like, Suvanto has been very, very, very good in Liga, in my opinion. And the intrigue in his game, I think, is well beyond that. Like, I think his potential is humongous. I don't think he has the same sort of energy and speed in his game that Zonon had, but I think he's an equivalently intelligent passer. He moves the puck really well and like thinks of some really complicated stuff on the fly and does so under pressure, and Zonon does similar things. So I think Suvanto might be the closest. But it's weird because, yeah, like this year it's kind of more about good defensemen and really high-end complementary offensive pieces for teams this year that I think is kind of dominating the draft class. And like the centers that are guys that I've liked this year are smaller, but like aggressive and fast and skilled. Logan Stewart, for example, has been really good. Yegor Shilov maybe is kind of a skill-first center that might work out. Horenko, Hextall, like these guys aren't like last year's first-round centers. So it's a weird sort of other side of the coin, so to speak. Putting my student loan on black is a strong financial choice based on the reels I've seen. Do you agree? No. I think you need to split it into a quarter each and put them on 4 individual numbers. And I think that what you do is I don't know where you live, David. I don't think you've ever told me, but I would, if you can, if there's not too much light pollution at night, you look up into the sky and like blink 8 or 9 times, and then whatever numbers pop up in the stars when you blink a whole bunch of times, you bet on those numbers. Right? Like if you see a 4 in the sky when you blink a bunch and then a 12, I think that's when you know where to put your money. I think that, maybe that could be the avenue with this second channel here. Maybe that's the social media strategy, is finding ridiculous ways to, outlandishly ridiculous ways that make absolutely no sense, that supposedly are an inside edge, right? I think that's a good one. You go out on your porch, maybe you get some of the devil's lettuce in you, and really go for a trip and really look up at the sky and really see some stuff. It's like, oh, I'll put all my money on horse. I don't know. The dealer would probably look at you like, what are you saying, sir? Please, security, escort this man out. But maybe you'd have some fun along the way, and that's the whole point of life, right? You live and you die. May as well have some fun and see where it goes. But don't just put it all on black. That's the coward's way out, I guess is what I'm saying. If Russia were eligible, how good would the World Junior team and the Russian Olympic team be? That's a really good question. Let's take a look. NHL, this is this. You know what? Maybe it's probably easier if we just go to Elite Prospects and go to their draft database here and look at the Russians that have been drafted recently, because their Olympic team probably would be pretty darn good. Yeah, their World Junior team number one goaltender probably is Andrianov. Yeah, Yegorov and Andrianov in net probably would be one of the best goaltending tandems there, if not the best. You'd have Zhuravsky, you'd have Prokhorov there, you'd have Limatov there, you'd have who else? Probably Mikhail Fyodorov. Ivan Demidov probably wouldn't go. I feel like Montreal wouldn't let him. Anton Silayev, Yegor Surin, Matvey Gradin, Nikita Artemanov maybe would be there. Matvey Shuravin. That's a good ass team. That's a good team. So yeah, they'd probably be pretty good. Speaking of pretty good, Dmitry Simashev looking pretty good for the Utah Mammoth. Anyway. But yes, both teams I think would be very, very good. Why is Nazar Privalov going to be the next GOAT? What an elite name. Privalov is just like... I've watched a bit of him this year because how can you not? There's not much in his game that's a weakness. He's a winger, which is, whatever. But he's big... He's fast, he's skilled, he's a great finisher. He is a one-man wrecking machine that is really hard to stop. I would not be surprised to see him, I don't think he's done it yet, but I would not be surprised to see him touch a KHL roster this year for at least a couple of shifts by the end of the year. Because, wait, no. Oh my God. I keep saying Yegor Privalov, Nazar Privalov. My bad. Yegor is the guy from last year who, yeah. But yeah, so this guy's on pace for a 50-goal season as a 16-year-old in the MHL this year. And I would not be surprised to see him sneak his way into a KHL roster because he just is extremely dominant. In all facets of the game. You can't stop him physically. You can't stop him with speed. He just constantly is doing the right things, and he scores more goals than assists, but a lot of that is because he just does everything he could ever want, ever, so why pass the puck, right? Might be a bit of a problem, but that's why I kind of would like to see him at a higher level between now and the end of the year. But yeah, he's insane. He's a really, really talented player. Pretty sure the rule for the AHL would be an exception for 19-year-olds only. Is it now? Well, maybe. Well, then in that case, Keaton Verhoff definitely should be going to the NCAA for another year. It's crazy that Burchild and Mooney are kind of having the draft year. Both ripped it up in the under 18s, and they're on -1 and starts the draft year with an injury and seems to be a step off. Yeah, I did a game of Burchild. I definitely liked Mooney a lot more. I think Burchild is an interesting sort of compact but skilled forward. He's got some good energy in his game, but I would love to see a little bit more LJ Mooney in his game. Mooney was high energy, high octane, physical as it gets, just a all over the place type player. And I really, really loved that about him. And Burchild, I just haven't seen that out of him. But definitely like the skill. Like, I feel like Burchild probably will be a very good college player. And from there, I just am not certain. And so to me, he might be like a swing in the middle rounds on skill. And if you take him slowly and take your time, he might end up working his way up the ladder and working his way into a top 9 role. But I don't think there's a certainty level there right now. Yes, Insulation Nation is exactly right. Thoughts on Scott Wheeler's list? Yeah, let's pull that up here. Let me just get to it in a moment. I mean, I believe it's paywalled, so I'm not gonna yuck his yum here. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, I see where he's coming from on a lot. I don't see it with Ryan Lynn at all, honestly. Like, that's the one where I'm like, oh, I don't see that personally. But by and large, the guys in his top 20 are often in my first round. You know, his top 22, 2 of those guys I don't have ranked in Rudolph and Hurlburt. I really don't know if Hurlburt's an NHLer. But other than that, like, I mean, he definitely bets on skill more than I do, like pure skill. Nicholas Aram Olsen is a guy who I have ranked, but I don't see him as a first-round pick. Klepov, I really feel like his projection is a struggle. But, you know, like other guys that I have a little lower than him, like Shilov, Malhotra, Morozov, I mean, I could see those guys very easily being in my first round by the end of the year, based on what I've seen of them. You know, like, I really love Oscar Holmertz. I don't have him in the first round, but I see why he would be in the first round. Same thing with Drevechki. I think there are some gaps in his game, but I would be very curious. Diario hasn't played yet, so I have him kind of in a placeholder spot where I had him coming out of the Lincoln tournament, but I don't know what to think about him. But, like, by and large, I mean, a lot of this makes sense to me. Just a couple of guys that I haven't seen yet because they haven't played, being ranked in the top 40. I just don't know about that. And a couple of guys that I've seen a bunch and just don't see it at all with. But other than that, it kind of lines up by and large with kind of where I'm at with things. Like, he's got Hokinson on there. I have him higher. I mean, Preston is a bit surprising, but I don't know. Maybe I've officially lost my mind for real this time. When evaluating players, how do you decide when to trust your gut instinct over the consensus? For example, when some player has dynamic skill when that's not really his game. Usually, I would say, and this is kind of the advantage for me of tracking data. And I again, like, you know, people plug your ears if it offends you, but, like, I don't care. Part of the work I did this offseason with a large language model was working with research papers on why I feel as though doing the data work myself and adding it to my own database is better than just, like, going to something like Instat and just looking at their data and going, oh, okay, this is what this means. Because I feel so much less confident when I don't have data on a guy at all. And because at least if and it's like an active learning thing, right? It's like, for some people, being dictated information is good enough. For me, it's not, you know, like, just seeing a thing happen is not enough for me to really learn much. But if I am actively engaged in creating something as I am learning, I learn way faster, like exponentially faster. So for me, like, around 4 or 5 games of data that I track, which is usually the new year, February-ish, that's when I start to feel confident of, like, okay, I know what I'm seeing. I know that it's, you know, the data doesn't really shift all that much from that point. You know, the thoughts and I usually give guys a placeholder rating by game 3, you know, 3 or 4 of data that I have. That's when they kind of start to have the ratings that I give. And I don't really shift them a whole lot between then and the end of the season, right? So that's kind of when things sort of shift. And for me, it's also like, this is really going to sound dumb, but this is also a pretty good back testing that I've done, is like, it's honestly the video clips I pull. Like, if there's, like, for example, and I really hate harping on it, but like Owen Power, right, when he was a draft eligible, The number of times that I pulled clips of him where he was struggling at something was a lot. I really wish I wasn't pulling as many, but I really do try to look at those and go, okay, like all of these things are like reinforcing something that I think is there, and I'm trying to find the things that are proving me wrong, and I haven't found it yet. You know, and I do constantly go like, okay, people are saying this thing, I'm going to check it again. I'm going to look into it again. I'm going to do it myself and whatever. And sometimes I do change my mind. Sometimes I go, yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it, and I'll think a little differently. But, you know, it's kind of a experience thing and like trusting yourself and just going like, I don't know if I see that. And it's been very interesting seeing in the Discord server people start to do the same things themselves now that a lot of them are getting more involved in this and watching games themselves and going, people are talking about this player doing this, and I don't know if I see that. I don't know about that. And then we look at it together and go, yeah, I don't know about that. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's a tough question to answer. It's kind of an experience thing. But there is a feeling. There is a feeling I get. It's like the I'm going to go crazy feeling. There's like a tipping point. It's hard to explain. But like after a certain point, if I have enough information where I feel confident, it's like I just don't care anymore. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care about. I just know that there's something else going on here that's a little bit funky, and yeah, I don't know. But sometimes that's burned me. Sometimes it has not. Thoughts on Pierce Bowie? I like him. Rambunctious guy. The problem is he's 5'10-ish and plays like Brendan Gallagher. And Brendan Gallagher is not, there are not a ton of those in the NHL. I really like him though. I think I would be happy to add him to the stable if he's a guy that slips in the draft. His finishing ability is really, really good. He's physical. He's a great forechecker, which to me is very valuable. He brings a lot of good fundamentals. And on the Hlinka team, I just constantly was like, they should be playing this guy more. He's like a fourth line guy, but you notice him every time he's on the ice, you know? And so, yeah, I think he consistently is going to be a good player for North Bay. Or no, Owen Sound, sorry. I always confuse those teams. But yeah, I like him a lot. Beckham Edwards thoughts. I really like him, but he seems to be a late first in most people's rankings. Yeah, Edwards is going to be very interesting to see develop because I don't think there's anything you can point to in his game where you go, that's not very good. You know, I think he's one of these guys that is kind of good at everything, but not great at anything. Like, he's a decent finisher, relatively speaking. Like, I think that's kind of he scores a lot of goals, and I think that's kind of just a virtue of like being a really good finisher, like shooter, wrist shot, slap shot, whatever. But he also just finds spots. He knows how to sort of sniff out space, and off the puck just is a good support guy. You know, he kind of knows where to be. He has a decent map of the ice. He can make a simple pass. You can sort of rely on him to just kind of eat the minutes that he plays, and then you get some offense out of him because he's kind of just in good spots. But the thing for me is, like, what's the value of a player like that at the OHL level as it for a trajectory into the NHL? You know, like, I don't really see an energy level or a sort of competitiveness that a guy like Ben Kindle or, well, like even Ben Kindle, like he was more of a pass first, really smart playmaker, like staying ahead of opponents. I feel like Beckham Edwards is an extremely good, like, reactive player in a way. Like, he's proactive, but not in a challenging way. He's more of like I'm just kind of floating into open space and just putting myself in a good spot to like move things in the right direction, but not. It's a really weird spot for him, and I don't think there's anyone else really like him in the draft class this year. Like, he's a second round pick for me right now because I just don't know if it's going to work in the NHL based on how he is. But again, like, it's really tricky because I can't point at him and go, well, this is what's wrong with your game. I don't really know. I know that's not a very good answer or informative, but like he is a weird one. He's a weird one. And I watched a game with AJ, and AJ agreed. He's just like, he's not doing anything wrong or badly. It's just, is this an NHL guy? Like, is he David Kampf, you know? And if he is, then cool, you know? Like, that's a valuable NHL player in a certain role, right? Like, fair enough. But I don't know. Where do you draft a player like that? First round, maybe. But yeah, he's weird. He's a weird one. Do you think Jordan Charron's goal scoring is sustainable? He's rocking a Marchenko-like stat sheet right now. Well, let's see. What's his shooting percentage? Jordan Charron is. I always loved his skill level, and the shot is. He's got a wicked wrist shot. Like he can really shoot a hockey puck. Well, that's the Saginaw Spirit website, which he is not a part of. Let's take a look here. I want to know how many shots he's taken this year, because there's a few guys absolutely riding huge heaters so far this season. A lot of Russians that are shooting like 50%, 40%. Charron, where are you? There you are. So he scored 14 goals on 58 shots. So what's 14 divided by 58? Yeah, that's 24%. I don't think that's sustainable. Most players don't shoot 24% for an entire season. Usually it's like 15, maybe a bit higher at the OHL level, depending. 24 is nuts, so I would expect things to regress a little bit. Who do you think is this year's Svirchek/Stiga type player? Lawrence, Tynan Lawrence is a really good one. Stenberg is another really good one. If you're talking guys that'll have really, really high that nobody else, Justavara Karlsson probably is the more Stiga-like guy. And Svirchek, I think I like Justavara Karlsson a little more than Svirchek though. Like Svirchek in the SHL, like definitely they have similar issues, but I think with Justavara Karlsson, he has a little bit more like off puck instincts and everything, but I think they're relatively comparable. Mutryn maybe, but he's big, not like, yeah, I think the guys at the top are more like that. Lawrence and Stenberg. Part of me thinks Viggo Bjork, but not so sure. I don't know. He's a little different. Yeah, and Justavara Karlsson probably is also... Like, Justavara Karlsson is very physical. That's what I find very intriguing, is he's really aggressive. And Stiga was like that. Svirchek, I wanted to see more of that type of thing from Svirchek, but it's possible. But Justavara Karlsson certainly brings a lot of that, too. How do you think Will Smith is doing in the NHL alongside Celebrini? Perfect wingman? Yes. Look, Will Smith is, looking back, like probably one of the best complementary offensive players that has come around in a while. Like his ability to not really be a bus driver, but really work off of the right players really, really well is wild. Like it's why I was so surprised San Jose kept trying him at center. Like I just never ever in my life thought that he was going to stick there at that position. And people were kind of saying similar things when he was a draft eligible. I feel a little similarly about a guy like Connor Bedard, where it's like, I don't think he's the guy up the middle on your first line. Like he might score 100 points as a first line winger, you know? I felt the same about Tim Stützle, but he's kind of worked out to be a pretty good center. But at the end of the day, I still felt like Stützle, like on the right situation, like on a first line on the wing, he might score 100 something points, you know? Like he's extremely good in that role. So in any case, I think with Smith, Celebrini is the type of player that will make anyone else better just by virtue of the smarts on and off the puck that he has and his creativity and the playmaking ability. He's a great shooter as well. Like he does so many things really, really, really well. And a guy like Smith does a limited number of things extremely well and very, very creatively. And I think those two guys work really well with each other. I don't know what the line actually specifically is. I'm sure someone will say it in the chat before I get there. But Burt Macklin Celebrini, where are you here? Yeah, holy shit, he's been good this year. Pardon my français, but yeah. Right, he's playing with Tyler Toffoli. Like, yeah, that trio makes a lot of sense to me. You know, Toffoli, your finisher, who's not the best skater in the world, but Celebrini glues it all together. Smith facilitates a lot with his skill level. I absolutely see why those guys are working so well together. I beat you to it there, Skylar. I beat you. I got there first. I saw your chat message, but I got there first. I saw. Thoughts on Drevechki and Fedoseev? I like Fedoseev a lot. Drevechki, I think, has some really glaring holes in his game that I really am scared of. But they're very close on my list. They're in the same tier. I think with Drevechki, the offensive game, like once he's one of these guys where once the puck is in the offensive zone, there's something really impressive there. But he's going to need to have some really incredible tools to get there and make it work, and I'm not sure he's there right now. I would love to see it happen, though, because I love how he plays. But like the defensive end of the game for him, the games I've done, is really soft and really not impactful, at least not to the point where I would trust him as a first-round pick. But Fedoseev is also kind of similar. Like I think they're cut from a similar cloth, but I think Fedoseev kind of moves the puck a little bit better. Drevechki is very confident. Like, I can't fault Drevechki's willingness to cut through the neutral zone, challenge three guys, and try to work his way through that. But I don't think he has the sort of floor fundamentals to do it. But maybe if he develops really well and like works with a skating coach and a skills coach and really becomes that sort of high-end guy like that, then maybe there's something there. They're similar players, I would say. I think Fedosiev's sort of defensive instincts and timing on his stick checks and everything is a little bit better, but it's still early. I also have recency bias because I saw Fedosiev like literally a few days ago, so, you know. But, yeah, I mean, I like Drevechki a lot. I just feel like there are some holes in his game that are pretty big, like some pretty glaring issues that will need to be worked on, but it's not that there's no lack of talent there at all. Dating show topics, NHL prospects, Survivor show watch parties, and best food choices in Ontario. Yeah, who wouldn't want to talk about those things, right? If people don't want to talk about it, they don't have to come on the show. They don't have to like it. You know, I want to know how compatible people are based on their feelings about Gavin McKenna. Imagine we had a dating show and I was like, how do you feel about Gavin McKenna, sir and madam, or whoever, sir and sir, like whoever shows up and wants, you know, whatever you're into, you know, whatever. And they go, Gavin McKenna is incredible. He's the best player available in this year's NHL draft and whatever. And the other person is just, oh my God, I think this, oh my God, me too. Oh my God, do you watch Survivor? And the guys go, and the other person goes, yeah. They go, oh my God, that's it. That's all you need. Even though the person I spend my life with is not really into hockey all that much, like she likes hockey, but like not like me, not like me. She does not understand how my brain operates, and honestly, I don't either. Honestly, Carter Casey thoughts. That does not sound like a real person. That sounds like a children's candy brand from 1967. Oh, Medicine Hat Tigers goaltender. Okay. I got nothing. You got me. I don't know. But I'll add him into my tab group. He's on the tab group. Is the step Jake O'Brien has taken this year surprising considering his draft year knock was he was a power play merchant? I mean, no, like, because he was, for me, like, I know a lot of his production did come on the power play, and there was a little bit, but his even strength numbers were still good. Like, they were still really good. I think the big thing is that Brantford has added some really good players to play with them over the course of this season. Like, I mean, like, when you're feeding pucks around the ice and you've got guys like, who's on this team now? Like, Adam Banach has been insane with them this year. Like, they added Banach, Cooper Dennis, Edison Engel, Vladimir Drevechki, like all of those guys at the OHL level are fantastic. Now they've got Ben Danford on the team, who's not the most offensive guy, but he has his role. Like they've added some unbelievably good players for the OHL level. So it's like, I think again, you look at these guys that they're playing, and like Adam Jiricek is a point a game now. Thank God. Like I've watched Brantford a few times this year. And like Jake O'Brien is a guy who, with his playmaking ability, will make anybody better. But like Banach is also an extremely good offensive player. Marek Vanacker is an excellent finisher, as you can tell by 15 goals already this year. Cooper Dennis at this level is a ton of fun to watch. I don't think Dennis is playing that much at all with O'Brien or Banach or any of those guys. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're separated. I think it's a lot of it is like O'Brien is a really good player, but a lot of it also is like that team is really good. They've added some super high-end offensive players, and they already have guys there that have been there for a few years that are getting close to graduation age, and they are big and good finishers, and they have some skill and all that stuff, and that all kind of synergizes and works together. But I mean, I've been blown away with some of the guys they've added. Drevechki's offensive zone play is excellent, but Cooper Dennis has been great. Edison Engel has been excellent for Brantford when I've seen them. Marek Vanacker has been really good. Adam Banach, like they just have two straight solid lines of just pure high octane offense, and Jake O'Brien is another one. How much does the game day tape reviews with prospects AJ does help you in your work in getting to know the players' personalities and inform you about drafting them come draft day? A lot, actually. I try to sit on as many as I can. I just don't participate in the interview because it's like Tony's thing and whatever, but I do like to be there, say hi, say thanks, and put a face to the name, so to speak. And so the ones that I was there for last year, a lot of fun, and like I think you do get a decent grasp of the general gist of what the person is like by just talking to them for a little bit, right? And I think guys, well, I shouldn't say guys. People like to talk about themselves, right? My dad when I was younger was always saying like, hey, if you want to learn about something, you just ask someone who does it. They'll talk about what they do and whatever. If you're interested in it, they'll talk about it until you die. And so, if you meet a hockey player who loves to just talk hockey and just talk about their game and talk about this, it's great. Like the guy that always sticks out to me is Lyndon Lakovich. Like I sat there for that whole interview and he is great. Like Lakovich is a guy who just has exactly the type of personality and vibe and seeing the game the way he sees it and the way he wants to play it is just so interesting. And I'm not saying that everybody else was not good, right? I'm just saying like he's the one that sticks out. Is like I really enjoyed talking to him, and he seemed to really enjoy the sort of nitty-gritty of it, and sort of we try to be a little more relaxed and like laid back about all of it, and I think that just was a natural fit for him. I don't know. I just really loved getting to know him a little bit. So it does influence things. I do wish I could sit on more, and we're trying to get them organized. It's a little tricky at this point in the year, but we are hoping to get them going pretty soon. Because of the way you work, you don't get the chance to interview players, coaches, and families. Have you been able to find a way around this workaround? Well, I mean, yeah, you kind of talk to people. You kind of talk to people about it, and I think also it helps to be like open about that being a blind spot. Like I'm not going to pretend like I know. And I'm not going to pretend like because I feel like there's stuff that is negative that's thrown around that oftentimes is overblown or not true, or misconstrued. And there's positive stuff that's thrown around that there's not really that much evidence, like it's anecdotal. And I don't really bother to like worry too much about that kind of thing. Like I just kind of go, I'm going to do what I can do. My workaround is, are these players any good? And I mean, there have been players who I've had ranked really high, and people come to me and they're like, yeah, like we just don't, we don't really know. Like one of the ones, here's a story. One of the ones now that he's in the news is Arthur Kaliyev, right? And if you don't remember, if you weren't around, like Arthur Kaliyev in 2019 was elite, like unbelievable offensive player. And a lot of people were like, he's not a top prospect. He's not going to be a thing. It's just, there's a lot going on there that whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I just went off of what I was seeing, and I thought as a complimentary offensive guy, I love him. I think I had him in the top 15, and he did play in the NHL, and for a second-round pick to play in the NHL, that's something, But I was told at the draft, someone said that they sent a questionnaire to the targets they had. The guys that they really liked, they sent them a questionnaire that was like a self, tell them about yourself and, kind of like a little project to put together. Everybody sent theirs back to this team except Arthur Kaliyev. He did not do it. It was like a 1-page thing. So it's like you can't even be bothered to like fill out a 1-page evaluation of yourself. What is the thought process that an NHL team is going to get from that? Like it's not necessarily that they care about what you say on that, but it's like if you don't do it, it says a lot more about you than like if you say like I'm a gigantic piece of garbage. You know what I mean? Like I would rather a person say like I struggle with this and this and this and I'm not perfect and blah 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 than just like not say anything. So a lot of people looked at a guy like him and was like, because again, it's your job. You have to be like, I'm going to put my name next to this person. This is going to be our guy, right? And is he the first guy? Is he the first target? And if so, why? Because if you have that core issue where it's like, I just don't like the professionalism, I think is a huge thing. I know you're talking about 17-year-olds, and to a certain extent, a lot of 17-year-olds, the professionalism side of things is not very well ingrained yet. But there is a difference between between not knowing an answer that an NHL team is looking for in an interview and like bombing the interview because you couldn't care less. You know what I mean? Like the Brian Burke story about Nail Yakupov, who was like, I don't even really care about the interview with you guys because I know I'm going first overall. So like, why would I bother? Right? Like, I don't really care. Edmonton's probably going to take me. So I don't, and it's like, right. But no, like that's no, you're not sending a good message to people, by that kind of attitude. And, so it's like that type of thing is important, but it's really hard to gauge from the outside. So, and there are stories about other players too, who are very highly regarded for one reason or another. And one thing leads to the next, and you're like, because it's like, it's not so much about who you're drafting as a player, but it's also like, can I trust them to stick to their workout plan that we give them, listen to our coaches when we give them feedback? Are they going to be able to follow like a dietary plan? Because everybody generally is on one nowadays. Like there is a lot of maintenance and upkeep to being a professional athlete in 2025 because the level of play and the level of fitness has gone up exponentially in the last 20, 30 years, right? So at least generally, right? Like not everybody, but by and large, if you want to make an impact and make yourself known and be played and trusted, those are the kinds of things you have to be aware of. So I kind of admit that that's something that I can't really grasp unless I'm informed of it. And with the show that we do interviewing them, like I generally don't try to pick at them too much in a negative way at all, because it is a really unfamiliar situation. It's really strange, and they don't really know us and it's, whatever. So that's why we try to keep it a little more laid back and like a little bit more like casual and whatever. Like we want them to sort of talk about, their bachelor nights, right? Like when they watch The Bachelor together as a team, like that's the kind of thing where like, yeah, we love to hear about that and like what you do for fun and go from there, because it's a weird scenario. So I don't really hold it against them then at all, ever. And I don't think anybody has really come across as like problematic ever. I don't think ever. There have been, I think Tony could speak to this more, but there have been players who just like completely ghosted him. But like, I don't think that's necessarily like, oh my goodness, this is a bad kid, right? Like it's, they're probably very, very busy, and a show like ours is probably not the largest priority. So in any case, it's a tricky question because I don't really know the right answer. You just kind of have to go off of what you see and what you've found out, and go from there, right? Because also like kids with crazy parents, kids with bad personalities or whatever you want to call it, they don't not make the NHL a lot of the time. Like how many times have we seen like our favorite athletes turn out to be kind of jerks and like maybe not the, whatever, but like you kind of make it work. Like it's a balancing act. So it's tricky. It's really, really tricky, Under 17 thoughts. I have not seen much of it yet. I will make that a priority over the weekend and into next week for puck preps. So you can ask me on a later show. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it. Yeah, the sleepover line. Toffoli, Celebrini, Smith. Couples and Scouch's dating show will be broken up over evaluations on Ryan Lynn or who should have been voted off the island, and it would be amazing. Exactly. I'm not going to spoil Survivor from last night. But last night I don't think there would be too much like debate and discussion with regards to who went home or anything. Like I don't think it would be a particularly antagonistic argument between two people that decides the fate of their relationship on the dating show. The week before, probably, yes. I would think that there is a very intriguing discussion to be had. My thing from last night's episode that I would be very curious to see discussed by two people who are not me on my fake dating show would be if a certain individual who was involved in last week's events is playing their cards in an optimal way based on their personality and how they are talking to people and how they are managing their own behavior within the group, if that makes sense. That can be interpreted in a number of different ways, I think. And I think that might be a bit of a hot button topic for two would be lovers, so to speak. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that. But yes, the Ryan Lynn one, yeah, I mean, that could also be a very spirited discussion, I think. Have you thought about writing a book about your journey to where you are today and the methods used to get there? Maybe we can get Team Scouching Behind the Couch. Behind the Couch might not be the best name for that book, honestly. I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't think I have had enough. I don't think I've had enough juice in the tank to be like, I'm going to write a book and it's going to be worth the time it takes to do that. And enough people will buy it to make it make sense. Like if I am in 30 years looking back on my life and I'm like, I have worked in the NHL or my work in the YouTube thing led to this point and this point and this point, trusting myself and blah, 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 then yes, but going from, a washed up, lowest level imaginable hockey player to 10,000 YouTube subscribers in the span of 10 years is not maybe the most intriguing book title, or the most enticing book, really. But I mean, it's crossed my mind to do writing. I was always told I was a very good writer when I was a youth. Now I don't even know what a book is anymore. But in all honesty, maybe one day, but this is the book, people coming here and asking me and poking at me and all that stuff. That's the book right now. That's the book. It's being written. Actually, as I talk on camera, did you know that I have ChatGPT taking dictation and constantly logging everything I say into a microphone, and under the prompt of trying to write 20 different books that it deems viable for sale, that I'm going to put out on Amazon, and just spam slop all over the bookstore, and that's what I'm going to do under a pen name, like Bobson Dugnut. That's going to be my name, Bobson Dugnut, author. Definitely not AI written books. Will Sam be coming out in the near future? We'll see. I mean, it's not like nothing's happened. Sam is just busy with work and everything like that. I do bug him once in a while to be like, hey man, like, are you alive? Like, what's going on, man? But I would love to have him on. It's been a long time. We'll try to make something happen here. Carter Casey is awesome. I trust you. I'll take a look at him. I put him on the list. All right, it's 2:54. I should probably get out of here. So we'll do one more, unless any questions come in between now and the time it takes for me to answer this question. Whitaker. Oh, hello. What's going on? What guys this year have the best feel for the game? High level routes, timing, spacing, etc. Really good question. I'd probably throw like Lawrence and Stenberg, probably Hextall I'd throw in there. I really like Gollier defensively in that area. I really like Adam Gollier. I think he really has a good vibe and feel for the game. Caleb Malhotra, perhaps. I mean, Jack Hextall always is coming to mind in that topic. Yeah, those are probably a good starting point. Beckham Edwards too. I don't know. I may not be the biggest believer in his future as an NHL player, but I think he does have a really, really great grasp of the game. Like, I think he has a really great sense of picking his spots and where to be and all that stuff. Viggo Bjork, come on, Mikhail. No, wrong. He's not far off, but wrong. No. I gave you Stenberg, okay? That's good. That's a good start, If anything, you being you should be like, no, on Bjork. Put all your chips on Stenberg, because that's good for your career, which is what I'm here to dab up, right? Like, you're the resident Finn. Oh my God, I almost called you a Finn. You're the resident Swede of the channel. So, and you are a Frölunda boy, so it's gonna be all Stenberg. But yeah, I mean, those guys are probably a good example of that. Like, defensively, there are some smart positional focused defensemen, guys like Piparinen, from what I remember. Gollier, of course. Yeah. Vitaly Pinchuk, is he any good? Vitaly Pinchuk, why do I know that name? Oh, is this the guy that was on Kingston years ago? Oh, snap. He's up like at a point a game. Dude, I've always liked Vitaly Pinchuk. I don't know if he's an NHL player, but when he was with Kingston, I thought he was so much fun. And I was hoping he would. Dude, he's 6'3" now. Holy smokes! Interesting. I did not know that. But yes, I've always really, really liked Vitaly Pinchuk. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. But I haven't seen him like at all. I think I watched him when he was in Belarus with Zlobin. Again, Zlobin, shout out for what was it? There was a player that we brought up who was from Zlobin, and the newspaper probably raved about him in Zlobin if they have one. But yeah, Pinchuk in Kingston was the one I remember him there, and then watching him a bit in the Belarusian league the year after, and thinking he was kind of neat. It may even have been him at the U20s that I saw. But yeah, dude, I've always had a big fan of Pinchuk. Bjork is one of the smartest players to ever come from Sweden. Maybe. I mean, as a playmaker, I certainly would agree. I definitely would agree. And anybody saying he's soft and doesn't try off the puck is a liar. Hey, look, I really like Viggo Bjork. I just think in terms of the framing of the question, I think he's probably in the next group down from those guys. Something like that. But he's good. It's okay. He's good. I like him. He's good. Certainly not a B-rated prospect, as an NHL Central Scouting seems to think. At least not right now. I'm not willing to put that out there. Okay. Well, on that note, we're gonna call it. I gotta go put real big boy pants on. I'm currently in my Costco Kirkland like thin jogging pants, which are excellent, by the way. If you ever see them in your clothing section at the Costco for like $30 Canadian, they are excellent. Excellent little around the house pants if you're a person who works from home. Yeah, okay, good. Pinchuk is getting some hype. Good, because I like him. I like him. This is kind of why I also am a big fan of drafting Russians, because you can just stash them away, and when they're 23 or 24 and you think they've come a long ways, you can bring them in. And yeah, but yeah, I gotta run. I gotta go. Yeah, put on a better sweater probably, and some big boy pants, and go into the city of Toronto. Go have some fun for the evening, and have a big, full, busy day tomorrow. Again, this is an awkward topic for me, but like, if you want a second channel, let me know, and we will give that a go, because who knows? Maybe maybe that's the ticket to writing a book, you know. No, but seriously, if it's something that is genuinely intriguing to you, I'd be more than happy to do it. I think there's an interesting idea there. For anyone who's not familiar, I mean, like, there's been talk and comments about it, but like doing a financial analysis, like a personal finance thing. Again, I'm not like a CFA, but I do have a lot of information and knowledge about that topic from years and years and years of this, and being raised by two bankers. And I know for a fact and guarantee you that my approach will not be selling you on anything and telling you where to put your money or whatever, outside of like the most reasonable things that everybody probably should be doing to a certain extent. And a lot of it would be more around having some fun, keeping an eye on stuff, and memeing about quantum computers for 7 hours while the market's open. But anyway, like, if that's something you're interested in, I'd love to hear. And if not, you know, that's cool too. I obviously need to balance this, and if that is a thing, then balancing it with that. But in any case, you know, I'd want it to be educational and helpful and have some fun. So if that's interesting, maybe we'll boot that up, because it doesn't take very long to get it all set up. So maybe we'll do that in the near future. Maybe once I'm back from vacation after November, we'll give it a go. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I do have to run. This was a lot of fun, as always, of course. Thank you for joining me. If you really want to help us out, you can also get a subscription over at Scouching.ca. You'll get access to our Discord server, where we do office hours a lot, where we watch tape together, do some data work. You get to see me do what I do. as well as plenty of other cool stuff, data tools and everything that have been recently updated. The NHL databases are updated for any subscribers at the partner level who want to track out performance and everything. The St. Louis Blues are having a bad time with their potentially Olympic starting goaltender Jordan Binnington in net. Not so great. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me again. The link is in the chat. If you want to help us out, that's really, really great. If not, hope you come back Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, wait, no. We're at Sabrina Carpenter Monday night. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll see you then. Thanks very much. Be safe. Have some fun. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. If you're in Ontario, the leaves are beautiful. Some of my favorite times of the year. Nice and crisp. And we'll see you Monday night. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.